And let's say a prayer. Placing my hands on my heart, beating in that harmonious rhythm of love. Thank you for that, Carol. So grateful for this opportunity to come together. Grateful for the love that we share, the compassionate support that we share, the ability to hold each other in that high watch, in that highest realm of perfect, whole, and complete in all areas of our lives. We're so grateful for this opportunity to be the two or more who are gathered in the name and nature of love, and to be here with our hearts and minds opened and willing to shine away any possible blocks to love, just allowing them to dissolve and resolve back to the root source from which they came, knowing that healing is happening here and now in and around each one of us and our lives. We're grateful to call in all of our earthly and heavenly helpers to join and support us during this call, to love us, to guide us, to bless us. We're grateful to be here together and to be able to share the benefits of this call, the benefits of our lives of love, the benefits of our compassionate, loving, steady hearts with everyone because we are one with them. In grace and divine gratitude, we let it be, and so it is. Amen. All right, so we are in chapter 21. One of my favorites. Section 2, the responsibility for sight. And I'm going to start us off. I believe it's the third sentence in paragraph 2. Say only this, but mean it with no reservations. For here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Deceive yourself no longer that you are helpless in the face of what is done to you. Acknowledge but that you have been mistaken, and all effects of your mistakes will disappear. Wow. All of the effects of our mistakes will disappear if only we will take responsibility and realize that we are the creators of this life, of everything that seems to happen to us. We chose it for a healing purpose, and we may not be able to see it in the time and the space that it is happening, but I have experienced again and again the blessings of that, the miracles of that. And I can't tell you how many times I've experienced that. So I know it to be true, and I'm super grateful for that prayer, which I have said many a time to myself in a moment. And grateful for these teachings. Who else would like to share what they got from this section?
So Linda, I have a question in regards to what you just read. So it's like with everything, I'm responsible for everything. So like, I'm responsible for my ex leaving me. I'm responsible for my brother having bipolar disorder. So how, like, then, so on some, like if I'm understanding you correctly, on some level that is not clear to me right now consciously, I've chosen these things to come into my experience for a healing purpose so that I can wake up to the truth of who I am.
Yes, absolutely.
And everybody chooses different forms, but really they're all variations of the same thing to help them to wake up.
Right.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that we're responsible for others' actions, but we are responsible for putting those actions in our lives for whatever healing purpose they are meant to have for us. Like I can say, for example, when my husband and I were trying to get pregnant a second time, and we went through 3 years of infertility treatments, and I did get pregnant. So we got to be really happy about it for about a week or so until we went to the doctor and found out that it was a tubal pregnancy and that there were other complications, and I ended up having to have a full hysterectomy. And I, at that time, I could not see how that could possibly be happening for me or by me. I went into several years of depression. Again, my choice. And now in hindsight, I can see some of the things that it taught me was, first of all, to appreciate the incredible miracle that my son is. Because according to what the doctor said, I never should have been able to get pregnant, period. And he was born 3 years before that. And I also came to realize that that little soul, all that little soul needed was that complete unconditional love for the time that it was with us. And believe me, it was loved more than you can ever imagine. And so I was grateful to and honored to feel like I was chosen for that. And the third thing was that I was also able to see, because I had a near-death experience when I was very, very young that I don't really recall, but I know that there are like remnants of it in my mind. And I also recall feeling angry, aggravated that I had to come back into this world, and feeling like kind of resentful at my mother, because at the time I felt that that was the reason why I came back. Mm. And I lost that baby. I was able to see how incredibly challenging that would have been for her if I would have died in that moment. And so I could have a greater appreciation for her. I could have a greater appreciation for her depression that she had when her mother died, because I had to go through that depression. So there were so many blessings that came from that, but I cannot tell you in the moment when it was happening, I was not appreciating it. I was not appreciating it. There was no way anybody could tell me that it was happening by me or for my good.
Wow, Linda, thank you so much. You know, it never ceases to surprise me that as much emotional pain that I go through, whenever I hear truth, it's like just sunshine, rays of light just falling over me and clearing out the debris, and it comes back again. I guess my choice, but it's amazing. Like just hearing you talk about your experiences, like gives me so much hope for my just, if I'm just willing to just be present to it, that what I will discover are my strengths through these experiences. Thank you so much for sharing so much from the heart.
You're welcome, absolutely. Kathy, then Carol, then Nancy Gail.
Thank you, Linda. And I guess what I was feeling as you were reading, and when the Homera has the questions, although choice is a good word, what came to me right away is this is my perception. It is what I am choosing to see in this moment. And so it's not so much choice always feels like a bad word in that moment. It is my vision. It is what I'm seeing at that moment. And how choice comes back into feel better for me is that I am still at choice. I can say, okay, I'm in this situation. This situation is here to teach me. And that may I be open, just open to see and feel and know something more, to see something, I guess, meaningful in this moment. Because I lost a son. I lost an adult son. And you cannot, I couldn't stand there in that moment and say I was grateful. I was deeply, deeply wounded, hurt, saddened. But I was given this opportunity to absolutely realize, to know, and be this loving presence for him and to him. Because, see, he was alcoholic, and I had two alcoholic parents. I didn't like alcohol, and I was angry at alcohol, but I could finally see that all that little soul wanted was to be loved so unconditionally. And I could say that to him through all of his time in treatment. And I wrote letters every day. And I always said to him, I cannot tell you how this came over me, but I just knew that every note I wrote to him said and was signed, love, always, Mom. And that was the poem I wrote for him for his eulogy. It was always at the end, love, always. So it's a moment of choice, but you have to come to that choice. And it wasn't happening. I didn't choose it. Well, I didn't choose to say I chose it. I choose to say that these situations came to teach me. And if I chose them, I'm unaware. And I'd rather live in that unawareness, knowing that there's something I can do with that. I can be at choice. And I don't have to point, blame, whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
I'm ever so grateful, Catherine, for your share. And my heart goes out to you. Thank you for sharing that experience with me, because as I've shared, my brother has addiction issues as well, and I worry about that every day, that am I going to get a call that he's passed away. So I'm ever so grateful for your share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. And like Carla always says, 100% responsibility, 0% blame. Carol, and then Nancy Gal.
I only wanted to say one short thing to Homera. When you said, you understand, and then you'll have moments again that'll come, those moments, sweetheart, will get less and less long. They will get shorter simply because as you go through whatever the experience is, however it shows up for you, and you decide you're going to stay with spirit, you're going to ride it out in the love of spirit and your own self and your own I am presence, and remain as close as you can, those moments get less and less intense. And you will ride them through quicker, more easily. And you will look back and say, oh my goodness, a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have done blah, blah, and I didn't. And I wasn't there, and I didn't have to go through it. So the pain becomes less as you really experience the healing each time. And there is a healing each time. Then the intensity of the next time. Lessons. That's God's way, because we stay with God. We decide for God. We decide we want this more than anything. We want to be love. That's our heart's desire behind everything else. And when that is true, God meets us so blessedly and so fervently and so exquisitely, and blesses and blesses and blesses. And you don't have to go through it as intensely forever and ever and on and on. It does get better. Just stay with it. Don't get frightened. Don't get tired. Every day is new. See it as best as you can and realize it's not going to always be this way. It is not.
Thank you for sharing that, Carol. Thank God. I hope so. Thank God.
It's true. It's true. If it's true for me, it has to be true for you. Cannot be otherwise.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Carol. Nancy Gale.
I'm already grateful and thankful. I'm in the midst of one of these moments, however long it's going to last. And I'm already been in tears listening to Catherine. Thank you. Almira, thank you for starting this. And Carol and Linda. So everybody else, please continue helping me. Like you said, Catherine, it's that choice is another one of those trigger words for me. So if you could explain it once more, what you said about how you changed it to so that the choice doesn't trigger you. Could Catherine, could you explain it? I am like, my body is falling apart. David, I was reading his caring thing, bridge thing last night, and it's like, I can read between the lines because I know him. He's not doing well. And it's like, someone posted a thing the other day, I think it was Kel, about, was it her brother or some, or somebody is going through the cancer for the third time also. And I'm thinking, so is David. And it's like they're having the same thing at the same time. And he mentioned that he's tired of the chemo. This week he's tired of the vomiting and all that and the pain. And this week he's got a week off of the chemo. So he's like, he's got a week free. And but it's like I can see where it's going. So that's where I'm at, and I'm really angry about it. And my therapist years ago said something about choice. We were talking about when I was a child, and all the stuff that was going on. And he said, you always had a choice. I said, no, I didn't. He said, yes, you always have a choice. And I said, yeah, I could choose to what? I argued with him for that the longest time. And so this lesson is, so the way I understand what you're saying, like Carol, it's like, and Linda, forget the blame, but this coming incarnating, whatever, into this world for a purpose. My purpose was, or is still, since I'm still here, to learn something, to heal my beliefs or the separation. Basically, that's in a sentence, right? And everything, and it's just like I said, what they say, you guys say that we made a decision before we came here, what we wanted to learn, and the people, and then pick the people and all that are in this here to facilitate that. And so that's what you're talking about. Choice came in. That's what okay. And that's the whole purpose of this. So if I see everything that way, I don't have to blame me or anybody else. It's just like you said, Catherine, or what one of you said. I can't remember now. that is the purpose. Everything that's happening is for me to realize something or learn something. That's all it's for. Correct? It's not a punishment or anything like that. It's all for me to learn something about the separation, and which was a bad mistake or something like that. And so that I can correct it or something. Somebody else take over for this conversation and help me, please. Thank you for listening.
Kathy, did you want to speak to that?
I would just say that, you know, we're a choice. We're always a choice about what we see. We are these divine individuals that have divine inspiration that is moving through us all the time. It is our willingness to see differently that changes our perspective. That's just such a beautiful little wisdom. And I think for me in my situation, it was my choice of learning the cry for love and how much we all want to feel that just unconditional love. We all want that. And guess what? We are the individuals that can be that unconditional love. But we have to start with ourselves. We have to see it in ourselves, kind of in some small way, in order to share that. And I wish I could explain it better, because when Adam was in that moment of knowing that his life was ending, there was just no doubt that I had such deep love for this child. And I saw finally his situation was such a cry for that. And I had not seen that earlier. So much to learn.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy.
Well, this is what, February, and my daughter, the anniversary when she passed was the end of January 29th, right? So I just going through that too, and it's like it's bringing up all this stuff, and you know the way the world is, and but she was an alcoholic, and that's what actually she died from. It just destroyed her body, and I remember feeling the same way, and I remember I wasn't there at the moment. Jesse was her son, and then he came and got me, and it was like brought me back to the hospital. It was like 10 minutes down the road, and I remember saying to her, she'd already passed, but I took her hand was still warm, and it's like I remember saying, I wish you could come back. You could, didn't have to go, but I know you can't come back, so go and have fun with God. Because that's what I knew where she was going, right? And I remember saying that to her, and hoping she could still hear me, because like the people were in a coma, they can. And I'm thinking, just go and have fun. Go and have fun. Now that you're chance, now you go and have fun with God. Because I knew throughout the whole thing and all those years and all the garbage, it was like people were telling me, do this, do this, do this. And I said, I knew in my heart, there was love there. That's all there was. I was tired of people criticizing and all this stuff. And it's like, just leave us alone. And it's like, nobody else was here to help me. I had to do it all myself. My husband's like, he's off in another world. So, with another life and criticizing me. What?
We have no control over what other people do. The only thing we can control is our response to it. And for me, the whole purpose of this experience is to prove how worthy of love we are by showing us with people in front of us how worthy of love they are. That's how we can experience how worthy of love we are. They may deem themselves as unworthy for this, that, or the other reason, but we can see that that's not true, and we can love them no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the whole purpose of this experience we call life is to love one another and to remember that the separation never happened, that we're still, we're still one with God right now. Right now, we're still one with each other and one with God right now. And
even if we can't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said, and the separation never happened.
And even if the other person can't see that, as long as I can see that, that heals me. That also heals the other person, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Perception. You're welcome. Yeah, thank you. Carla. And then Leslie.
Okay. Gosh, you could probably do this section for like 3 weeks or a month. There's so much. I think I highlighted this section. I highlighted the most interested by this section. What I'm interested in sharing is my response to reading this section was increasing my willingness to take responsibility for how I respond to any experience. And I found this poem, I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read one line. How we respond to the experience, and even a thought of the experience, determines the next experience offered to us. So I shared about the renter. Now I can't choose about what he does. All I can choose is how I responded, and really responding from, he actually paid this last month on the 1st, and he never has before. He usually waits until the 3rd or the 5th to pay. And the ego self, the mind, when I go, oh, that's nice, but I thanked him. I sent him a text and thanked him. And I felt he was receptive. He just needed a love too. That he said, you're welcome. And it doesn't mean anything really, but, and I realized in some way, I helped create that. I chose him as my renter, I didn't have to choose him, but that's what I'm creating, is how I respond to that. Now, this is what I'm really interested in taking responsibility for. I see it all the time, is that this body was diagnosed because it seemed like the appearances were happening with a brain disorder. And now it's like I fall down, I balance issues, whatever. This body does. I don't. That's the whole mistake in what we're doing. Is like, when we take it on, the appearance is me. It's just the appearance. It's just an opportunity to respond differently. So it runs in my family. There have been several people who got the whatever diagnosis, and I didn't. I remember walking across 4-inch boards with 50 feet of air underneath me when I was a child. And even when the doctors told me in 2007 that my brain looked different, and they gave me a test, and it seemed like, oh, you're fine, that I started holding in my mind, oh, I think I'm a carrier. I think I have it. And then about 2 years later, I didn't evict that thought, didn't love that thought, didn't give that thought up to spirit for healing. I accepted it as truth. And 2 years later, the appearance started. So did I create that? The opportunity may have always been there, but I didn't believe it until maybe that. So now the thing is to shift how I respond to that. I may not be able to get rid of it, evict it. I don't know if it's possible. But to start with acceptance, acceptance that I may have had a hand in this. And even with my renter, and it's not fully my responsibility, he says, we're one with everyone. We're one with everyone. So how can anything be totally our responsibility? But how we respond to everything is our responsibility. So I'm willing. Willingness comes up several times in this section. I'm willing. I'm willing to take responsibility for how I respond, not for what is. And maybe I had a hand in that, but I'm willing to start with how I respond. Then from there, I'll expand into something else. I have no idea, but so I'm willing to see the opportunities to take responsibility for my feelings, for how I respond to life. This came to my mind like, a few months ago. If it's happening, it's helpful. Somehow. It's paying for everything here. Now, this is the key. I think I need to get the disability to pay for all this, because David doesn't seem to be paying. So I created that too. And by my response, when he said he was running out of money, I said, oh, I got in this fear mode. So it feels to me like, I don't know how to shift the whole thing, but I'm willing to take one step. And that one step is all I need to do right now. And that's taking responsibility for how I feel every moment. Not for the thought that comes into my head, but how I feel about the thought. That it's maybe ego offering me or whatever. It could be all thought is shared, so not even be mine. But I'm willing to take responsibility for how I respond to anything. That's what I'm willing to do. And that's what this section, in this prayer I wrote 9 months, almost a year ago, that I'm willing. So I know there's power in the two or more that's gathered. And I thought the thought, but I'm willing to share it here and to enlist, ask for, be open to, I don't care, the support and the love that help me in fulfilling this vow. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. I second that. Go ahead, Leslie.
Good afternoon, everyone. So much pain has been shared today already. Just want to say how much I love you all and how courageous in your pain you all are. And me too. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I think, Nancy Dale, what you may have been trying to grasp what Kathy had said was perception. I think she was saying that perception is the vision of how I'm seeing at the moment. So maybe perception is a different word for choice. Maybe that will be a little bit easier. And I just think this first line in this prayer is so important. I am responsible for what I see. Not meaning, Hamira, that you're responsible for causing your brother to be bipolar, that you're responsible that your ex left you, but you're responsible for how I see. Do I see it as a bad thing that my ex-husband, that my husband left me? Do I, or can I see? And again, it comes and goes, you know, just I think Carol said that the pain and the light and all that, but it's like, it's about attitude. To me, this paragraph is about attitude in a way. I'm not responsible necessarily for what happens, but I am responsible for how I see it. I choose the feelings around it. And I mean, this is such a little teeny example compared to what you all are talking about, but I just feel like I want to share it right now. One of my friends, we had what I thought was an intimate moment about something painful. Okay, I'll just say it. Her 20-year-old cat passed away, and she had talked about getting another kitten, blah, blah, blah. And I found out from a different friend that she did get this kitten. And I was really hurt that after we had this bonding moment that she didn't call to tell me the happy news, you know, and my ego wanted to go crazy because it's a pain body for me with the whole friendship thing and everything like that. But I was able to just stop myself from falling down that rabbit hole and just say, what's true here? What is the truth of this moment? The truth is, she didn't call me about the kitten. That's all there is. I don't know why or how. I just know, you know, maybe she doesn't have time to have another intimate friend. Maybe my intimacy with her meant a lot to me, but it scared the crap out of her because she's not used to feeling those kind of intense feelings. I mean, it could be 1,000 things. I don't know, but I get to choose. I am responsible for what I see. And I like, instead of saying I like to change love there. Love is responsible for what I see. The love inside of me is so happy for her that her and her daughter gets to have this new kitten to bring joy into their life where there was so much grief and heartache. I mean, I'm happy for her. Did I take it a little personal? Absolutely. So good for me. That's a great lesson. I need that lesson over and over because I get it a lot, not to take things personal. So I don't know, Homer, and also Nancy, if that is helpful or not, as far as, you know, with David perhaps getting closer to his transition, the responsibility for how I see, I mean, that's a tough one because it sounds like you're really fighting reality. And that is really, really a deep spiritual lesson, I think. Can I, you know, when this is a reality of the situation, I don't like it, I want it to be different. Can I see that this is best for him, maybe, even though I might feel like it's not the best for me? I don't know. It's very complex, but I think I like this prayer so much because it makes me feel so powerful. It makes me feel like I do have a choice, no matter what happens in the world. I can get behind the thought, behind the feelings. I can watch it happening and know that I'm part of the larger consciousness, how we're all one, and see it for good. And at the same time, I want to say, God, don't test me. You know. So anyway, I love you all, and I'm sorry some of you are struggling so much. I promise the light will shine again. It always does. Even if it's pouring out, we know the sun is behind those clouds.
Thank you, dear Leslie. And that is really helpful because it shifts sort of that somewhere underneath that is blame. So when you just say, I'm not responsible for something somebody else does, but how I see it, it shifts from blame to a choice of experiencing the experience. Yeah.
And that's very powerful because now you don't have to feel like a victim. You know, you're not a victim in this situation. You are powerful. You get to respond. Not that, yeah, if you could rewrite history, would you rewrite it differently? Absolutely. Who wants to learn through pain? But I know in my heart is the best thing that could have happened to you because it's what happened. You know, but I can have that faith because I'm removed from the pain. So we're all holding you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Marjorie, and then Linda.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I wanted to speak to the part about being responsible. And I think, that's the ability to respond. It's not like it's necessarily cause and effect, like I'm the cause of something or that I caused something to happen necessarily, but that it's how I respond, and that's my ability to respond. But I also feel like it's, and I don't know if this comes from the Course or not, it may or may not, but it's, we are in relationship with each other. So it's complex, like you were saying, Leslie, that I think that in relationship to each other, we're not here just as individuals, like little individual sticks, We are in relationship, so that what one person does and how that person responds, then that's how I can respond back to that, and then back and forth, and then another person comes in. And I think also, I don't know if this comes from the Course or not, but I think that there's such things called soul families that people choose ahead of time to come in as groups of souls that interact with each other, over lifetimes. And then I think sometimes also when we're in pain or we're hurting or something happens, it's not necessarily always just that I caused it or that I called in, that I created it or I called it in. It could also be that it's that I'm responding to, or I'm part of something that my ancestors may have called in, or even in previous lifetimes, So putting it in that big picture helps to kind of alleviate some of the guilt or shame that sometimes comes along with it, so it's not necessarily that I have to have the willpower. It's not just that I will something to happen, or I'm willing, because that sometimes that seems like ego to me. That seems like it's something that I have to do. It's also something that is being done as me, through me, from source, in relationship to all the others around me. So it's very complex, and I think putting in that big picture helps to alleviate some of the what sometimes feels like a belief system, like a fundamentalist kind of thing. Oh, the Course says this, therefore I have to buy into it 100%, or there's a belief system from anywhere, and therefore that makes it gospel truth, or the Bible says it, or the Course says it, or any other teaching says it, or someone else says it, or even what I have internally come to understand. And I think this does come from the Course, this part of it. I don't know, and I don't know anything, or I cannot know everything, or it's not just up to me to put meaning onto something. It's in relationship with everyone else around me, and it might make sense. It might make no sense at all. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we come up with these things to try to help us to understand and to cope and to get through and to experience things. But we really don't know. So I think tapping into the unknown, tapping into the mystery of it all, tapping into the mystery of source is also helpful to just, I don't have to know. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie. Yep.
Yeah.
What anything is for. It's one of our first 5 lessons, I think.
What?
Hang on, Nancy. Linda had her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
This is a perfect segue, Marjorie, to what I was going to share, as a matter of fact. You know, going back to the book, paragraph 7. The Holy Spirit can give you faith in holiness and vision to see it easily enough. But you have not left open and unoccupied the altar where the gifts belong. Where they should be, you have set up your idols to something else. This other will, which seems to tell you what must happen, you give reality. And what would show you otherwise must therefore seem unreal. All that is asked of you is to make room for truth. And here's the sentence. You are not asked to make or do what lies beyond your understanding. All you are asked to do is let it in, only to stop your interference. So all of these situations really, you know, this Parkinson, it's above my pay grade. I don't even know, how am I to know in all of eternity why all these cogs and wheels and pistons, you know, the imaginations of the dream, why they're set in motion the way they're set in motion. I got somebody I can go to and say, come Holy Spirit, come, you be the guide and tell me what my part is and let it in. Yeah, that's all. And I have to leave a little bit before 1, so just saying.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. And thanks for letting us know. Go ahead, Nancy, go.
No, what I'm getting is the big picture. In the big picture, I have a part in for me, the best thing for me to remember is that I have a part in this big picture, and all of these seemingly separate things are happening within the big picture, in which I have a part in all of this. I may not know what that part is in each of these individual things, but just remember that it all fit. It's a piece. It's a piece. Each is a piece. You get my idea. That's how I'm going to help frame this whole thing. That I have a part in this, in each of these things that happens with each of these, everybody in each of these. Okay, I'm just getting too complicated, but it's what's coming. It's like, thank you for everybody sharing. It's coming together. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's just remembering that until I can see through all directions of time and space, I really don't know what anything is for. And so I have to accept that it's for my good, because it can't be otherwise, because God is a loving being.
So everything, it's not just for my, well, if I'm just the one, there's only one.
There's only one, right?
The whole, it's good. Okay, somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also going to share the beginning of paragraph 5, that first sentence. The world you see is but the idle witness that you were right. And this witness is insane. So the witness, the ego thought system, just always wants to be right. So if the ego thought system comes up with an idea of why something is, it's going to do whatever it can to prove that that's the truth of it. Like the story I told you guys probably many times about my old boss, when she didn't pay me for 6 months, and then she caught up with, or 6 weeks, and then she caught up, and then she didn't pay me again for 6 weeks, and she caught up. And everybody kept saying, I should take her to court, or I should report her, or whatever. And the simple truth was that I got in my meditation is it is not my place to teach her this lesson. So she was put in my life so that she could get me out of that job, because God had bigger and better things for me. I loved what I was doing there. I would have never left. I loved what I was doing there. I loved the people that I was working with. I would never have left. But she played that role in my life to get my butt out of that job. And, you know, people looking from the outside, and even I could have said, making myself right, that was wrong for her to do that. But it was not my lesson to teach her. It was not my lesson to teach her. And sometimes I feel like the lessons, like that story about the guy that's he's in a flood and he's standing at the top of, on the roof of his house, and somebody comes by with a life vest, and he says, "Oh no, I have faith in God. God will save me." And then somebody else comes by with a boat, and he's like, "Oh no, I don't need to go on the boat. God will save me." And then somebody comes by on a helicopter, and he's like, "Oh no, God will save me." And then he drowns and he dies. And he's like, "What's up with that?" He's like, "Well, I sent you a life vest, a boat, and a helicopter. What the hell else did you want from me?" So we have this idea that it has to be a certain way. And when we're so stuck in the mindset of it's right, I'm right, what I'm thinking is right, that this should not have happened this way, then I'm not going to be able to see anything else. So it's my job to say, okay, I'm responsible for what I see, and what I want to see is peace. What I want to see is love. And I'm willing to let go of all the other things that I think it needs to look like to experience that. Carla.
There's so much that I could read, but I liked paragraph 6, line 4. All that the ego is an idea. It's an idea that it is possible that things could happen to the Son of God without his will. That is taking responsibility. That is when it's so I understand that we want to be helpful. I want to be, compassionate. So when something happens to someone, they go, "Oh yeah, I fell down, I hurt my leg," Now, I understand the interest to be compassionate, go, "Oh, that's challenging," or "That's too bad." Ugh, what are we doing? We're saying that was awful that you created that. And that's awful that's happened. That's challenging. I mean, there's ways we have fallen into showing love. I'll take responsibility for myself. That I've fallen into responding to someone from a pattern of "That's too bad." And I think it says something about wishful thinking. Doesn't it say, we've already said that in the paragraph 9, the first line, that wishful thinking is how the ego deals with what it wants to make it so. So that when something happens, a broke my ankle, there's a way of responding to extend love, accept that they created that, and stay in the love, but not make it wrong or bad. Like, "Oh, that's too bad that happened to you." Oh, that's making it real. Now, they have a choice of how they respond to it. I have a choice of how I respond to it. And if they're upset, you don't tell them, oh no, you created that for your own good. You don't say that. You know, I mean, you know that they are powerful. The higher self, not the personality self, that is ego, really. Somehow it's making everything for our good. So I thought I'd let go of my house in Portland, but I'm still attached. I still want a renter who does stuff and takes it, fixes it up and pays on time. So now I'm giving my house to David for $1, because you have to have some money involved, I guess. But so I'm good. So this is my further letting go. So God is creating all this, or whatever. I don't know who's creating it. Maybe I'm in, maybe I'm one with God. So I guess I am with God's help. I have no idea. It's creating all this for me to let go of appearance, let go of attachment to the house, which I had for 30 years, that I put a lot of love into. Let go of the love. Doesn't mean I stop loving. I let go of all that time I put love into it. It's this renter, this whole thing is helping me to let go of thinking I own the house. Let go of thinking I should have a renter who does what they agree to. It's all about letting go. That is the healing. This world, now, the only thing is love. Well, love is all it's real, right? I can still love the house. Doesn't mean I'm attached to what happens. So it can friggin' burn down. You know, I have no idea. But I don't think I want to create that. But, you know, if it is, how do I respond to it? So I'm noticing, so each moment I'm interested is another creation, that I'm interested in knowing and recognizing what I'm creating. We make the world we see. I've made it. The human race, maybe the one I'm one with, right, has created something through maybe eons of miscreating, of responding to something with less than truth. And this isn't it somewhere here? Truth is somewhere. I have so much underlined, I can't find it. But all that is asked of you here, it's shown to me, all that is asked of you is to make room for the truth. What I've been doing, I've recognized that I've been so busy miscreating that I haven't left a room for it. My cup is full with illusion. So here again, I'm willing to let go of my house, to give it to David, to let go, whatever. Everything that happens somehow is working toward good. So I'm willing to allow the truth to not just a teeny bit of room. I'm willing to be carried by the truth. I'm willing to enfold myself fully in truth. I'm willing to only see truth every moment. That's what I'm creating. Wow, I'm like, powerful creator today.
Yay, let's do it. Thank you, Carla. All right, well, we're gonna, because we're over time, we're gonna wrap up next week. Staying in 21, section 3, faith, belief, and vision. And I'm gonna read Pathways of Light, Insights for lesson number 40, I am blessed as a son of God. Today's lesson once more asks us to accept the truth about ourselves. In truth, everyone is blessed as a son of God. In truth, everyone is an extension of God, an extension of God's love, because we are all God's love. We bless and are blessed. Because we are God's love, we extend love as God does. All are in holy union with God. We cannot be without love's blessing, because we are all love. And love, to be love, extends love. Love sees all as itself. Love sees all as itself. Affirming I am blessed as a son of God every 10 minutes is important mind training. It helps me return to accepting the truth about myself and about everyone. If I really want to return to the truth and accept the blessings of my true inheritance, I will practice consistently today. I will do as Jesus instructs, for he knows how to lead me home. He is our elder brother. He knows that our minds are still undisciplined. I am determined to follow Jesus' instructions today. I am determined to accept the truth that I am blessed as a son of God. In chapter 4, section 4, paragraph 7 of the text, it says that the reason we lack consistency in focusing our attention on the love of God is not because it is hard, but because we do not believe we are worthy of it. In today's lesson, Jesus clearly recognizes that we may miss some practice periods, maybe even for long periods, but he urges us not to let that discourage us or to use it as an excuse to stop practicing. He simply says, try again, no guilt, just try again. And you may have noticed me looking down occasionally during our every 10 minutes today because my reminder is going off. One of the things that has struck me over the years as I have worked with the course is that it is gentle. There is no coercion, only loving encouragement. It never does it shame or judge us for our insanity. It just patiently, repeatedly encourages us, reminding us what is true and helping us to recognize illusions for what they are. Sometimes we may take offense at what it says because we have identified with a false image of ourselves and perceive the words as an attack on who we are. But that is simply the ego trying to hold its ground. No matter what we believe about ourselves, no matter how much we deny God's love for us, he continues to give all of his love eternally. He gives his love without consideration of whether or not we accept it. He is always giving. If we are not aware of his blessing, it is simply because we have chosen not to accept it. But his blessing remains there for us to receive the instant we are willing. If I am blessed as a son of God, then God must want me to be happy. If I am not happy, I am not accepting God's will for me. Today, I will practice remembering I am blessed as a son of God because I want to be happy. I love that I am not judged for my lapses. I love the gentleness of the course. I often think of this when I am tempted to judge or anger over another person's actions. Gentleness and forgiveness is not always my first choice, but more and more I am stepping out of the destructive cycle of blame and fear and choosing gentleness instead. I'm so grateful for this change in myself. I know it is a direct result of these lessons. I keep working on the lessons because I want a gentle life without excursions into fear, anger, guilt, and judgment. May we all treat ourselves that tenderly. Have a good week, everybody. I love you. See you next week. Penelope, I'll see you tomorrow.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.